My older brother stole my phone and read my messages, and when I confronted him, the whole family denied the problem. It all started on a quiet evening. I had been in my room, studying for hours, when I decided to take a short break and grab a snack from the kitchen. I left my phone on the counter just a few steps away, thinking it was safe. When I returned, it was gone. At first, I told myself I probably misplaced it, but a strange feeling in my gut told me otherwise. That night, I tried to focus on my homework, but I kept thinking about my missing phone. Then I noticed something alarming. My social media accounts were logged in, and some of my messages had been read. Not just a few random chats. Everything. Personal conversations, plans with friends, secrets I had shared with people I trusted. It was as if someone had stepped into my mind and sifted through everything I had ever typed. The next morning, I confronted my brother. I tried to keep my voice steady, though inside I was boiling with anger and disbelief. I asked him why he had taken my phone and invaded my privacy. He just laughed, a cold smirk on his face, and told me I was overreacting. That was when I realized this wasn't just a prank or a moment of curiosity. This was deliberate. I went to my parents, hoping for support. I expected them to understand how violated I felt. But instead of taking my side, they told me not to make a big deal out of it. They said, "He's your brother. Siblings do things like this sometimes. Don't make it worse than it is." I couldn't believe it. I felt completely invisible, as if my feelings didn't matter at all. For the next few days, I avoided my brother as much as I could, but the tension in the house was unbearable. Every glance, every sound he made reminded me of the betrayal. I started locking my room, hiding my devices, and questioning every interaction in my family. How could they all act like nothing happened? How could they ignore what he did to me? I began to notice small things I had never realized before. The way he would casually peek at my things when I wasn't around. The way my parents would quickly change the subject whenever I tried to explain my discomfort. The whispered conversations that seemed to revolve around me but always left me in the dark. Each moment built a wall between us, a barrier of mistrust and uncertainty that I didn't know how to break. I kept thinking about my next steps. Should I confront him again? Should I secretly gather proof? Should I even try to talk to my parents once more, or accept that they will always dismiss my feelings? I didn't have the answers, but one thing was certain. I couldn't let this go unnoticed. Something had to change, or I would never feel safe in my own home again. After that first confrontation, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Every day felt heavier, like a cloud was constantly hanging over me. I started noticing patterns I had ignored before. How my brother would casually enter my room when he thought I wasn't paying attention. How he would make jokes that hinted he knew things I hadn't shared with anyone, even the most personal details of my life. I tried to talk to my friends about it, but I found it hard to explain. How could I tell them that my own brother had invaded my privacy and that my parents acted like it was nothing? They would nod, sympathetic but distant, and I could feel their confusion. Even my closest friends didn't really know what to say. Home, things got worse. Every time I mentioned my concerns, my parents would brush it off. My father said, "He's your brother. You need to learn to forgive." My mother added, "Family sticks together. Don't let small things ruin your bond." But these were not small things. My privacy had been violated, my trust broken, and yet I was expected to act like nothing happened. One evening, I came home to find my room door slightly ajar. My heart sank immediately. I pushed the door open slowly and saw him sitting on my bed, scrolling through my phone as if it belonged to him. I froze. For a moment, he looked up, smirked, and said, "Relax, I'm just checking a message." But I knew it wasn't about a single message. It was everything. My life, my secrets, my thoughts. I left the room quietly, not knowing whether to scream, cry, or just disappear. I began locking my door and hiding my devices, but it didn't feel like enough. Every time I heard a laugh from the living room or a door click down the hall, my heart raced. I felt trapped in my own house, surrounded by people who were supposed to protect me but had chosen to ignore the truth. I started keeping a journal, documenting everything that happened, every suspicious look, every whispered comment, every tiny invasion of my space. I wanted a record, something I could point to if things escalated. But even as I wrote, I felt the loneliness pressing in. I had no one in my family I could truly trust. And yet, despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to leave. This was my home, my family. Something inside me kept hoping that one day someone would finally see what had happened, acknowledge it, and make things right. But for now, I was left with questions, fear, and a sense of betrayal that seemed endless. The days turned into weeks, and the tension in my home never eased. Every interaction with my brother felt like walking on a tightrope. I had grown hyper-aware of his presence, the way he moved, the subtle glances he threw my way. It wasn't just about the phone anymore. It was about the constant feeling of being watched, judged, and dismissed. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at school, I came home to find the house unusually quiet. I thought maybe this was a chance to breathe, to finally feel a moment of relief. But as soon as I opened my room door, I saw him there, sitting on my bed with my phone in hand. My chest tightened. He looked up and smiled, a casual, almost mocking smile, as if nothing had ever happened. I couldn't hold it in anymore. My voice shook, but I spoke firmly. "Enough! This has gone too far. You violated my privacy, and my parents keep pretending it's nothing. I can't live like this anymore." For a brief moment, the room was silent. I could see a flicker of surprise on his face, maybe even a hint of guilt, but it quickly vanished, replaced by arrogance. "It's just a phone. You're blowing it out." "Of proportion," he said, leaning back as if he were untouchable. I felt something inside me snap. All the fear, frustration, and betrayal I had bottled up for weeks erupted. I told him exactly how his actions made me feel, how my trust was broken, and how unfair it was that my parents refused to see the truth. I poured out every emotion I had kept inside, my voice trembling, my hands shaking. But my words, finally, cutting through the silence, and then something unexpected happened. My parents, who had been standing silently in the doorway, finally spoke. My father's voice was quiet but firm. "We didn't realize how serious this was. We should have listened sooner." My mother nodded, eyes wide with regret. For the first time, they acknowledged what had been ignored for so long. My brother, for the first time, seemed genuinely uncomfortable. He didn't say anything, just stared at the floor, maybe realizing for the first time how much he had hurt me. The room was heavy with emotion, a mixture of anger, relief, and the fragile hope that things could change. I didn't feel completely safe yet, and I knew rebuilding trust would take time. But at that moment, I realized something important. I had a voice, I had boundaries, and finally, my family could no longer pretend my feelings didn't matter. That night, I locked my door one last time. Not out of fear, but as a reminder to myself that I had taken control of my own life, my own privacy, and my own dignity. And though the road ahead would be long, I felt a small spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could finally start to heal. And so, our story comes to an end today. But in the world of Max fables, every tale carries a lesson and leaves an impact. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you won't miss our upcoming tales. Here, where stories come to life.